Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Thanks for joining us this morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Greg Gifford. I'm the COO of a local SEO agency in the States. I've been doing local SEO for who knows how long, a very long time. This is Michel. Michel is the co-founder or founder of GMB API. It's a really kick-ass tool. And they have a free trial that I'm sure he can tell you about. They've got a stand downstairs. You should check it out. You can literally connect your GBP to their tool and it downloads everything and you can do amazing stuff with it. So you should check that out as well. And this is what our third Brighton in a row that we've spoken together for like the regular presentations. Yeah. And then Claire's the most amazing person ever. If you have not met Claire and talked to Claire, she's incredible and she's super cool. And she is also a crazy, awesome local SEO expert. And now,
oh my gosh, where is this going?
You're a product expert now.
Yes.
So has anyone in here not heard of the GBP community forum? Hands up if you haven't heard of it. Okay, we're going to start by talking about that because let's be honest, there's no Google people in here, right? Working when I lean forward. Support sucks. It's horrible. It's literally scripted. I've called in before and said, look, you're going to tell me to try A, B, and C. I've already done those things. This is a bug. Let's fix it. And they'll say, well, sir, have you tried A? And I'll be like, yeah, bro, I already tried that. Next, you're going to tell me, have I tried B? I've already done it. Let's move on. Well, sir, have you tried B? It's awful. So Google has a community support forum for every product out there. And Google's a bit nefarious, as Google usually is. And it's not staffed by Google employees. They're basically trying to get free customer support by having volunteers that know that product answer questions. Once you answer questions consistently and well, you'll be invited into what's called the Product Expert Program, which basically gives you a little badge on your profile so that people that ask a question, if you get an answer from someone with a Product Expert badge, you basically know Google has endorsed that person's knowledge and you can trust what they have to say. Once you're in the program, you can continue to answer stuff consistently and well. You start escalating in level. Once you get to gold or above, you actually have to sign an NDA with Google. And we have a weekly call every Friday. For me, it's in the morning. It's like 3 in the afternoon for you. So we have a weekly call for 30 minutes with the GBP team. So because of the NDA, we actually know about things that are coming several years in advance. And we help them with various issues. And that's really the main reason I did it, because now we know a lot more about how things work behind the scenes and we know what's coming, and the NDA covers my entire agency, so I can train my team on new features that are coming out before they're actually released. Plus you can see all of the other problems and you learn so much. And she just became your gold, right?
Claire, yes.
Yeah, so she just became gold, and so now she's on the calls with us. So if you really are into local SEO, I think that's probably the best place you can go to learn how anything around Google Business Profiles work.
How much time does that take before you get that?
Depends on how much time you put in. So yeah. I started doing it and I spent maybe 20 minutes a day for probably 3 months before they invited me in. So not that much.
That's okay.
And I had friends that had asked me to do it for years. I was like, I don't want to commit the time to it. It seems like it's going to be a big time suck.
Yeah.
And they were like, just block out 20 minutes at lunch every day and go in and answer a few questions. It's really 20 minutes a day is it. Now I do maybe 10 minutes a day. What are you doing?
I would say don't do it because you want access to secret source, because it's a lot of really hard work and you need to care about people and support people and take them through the difficulties of Google Business Profile trauma at various stages. So yeah, it's more you do it it's a nice community to be part of, but it is a lot of hard work. So it's not like a secret pass to. But it's a nice thing to do if you've got the time.
Yeah, and it's also helpful because we have a Slack channel, which the Google people hate because they want us to be on Google Chat, but like, let's be honest, Google Chat sucks. So we have a Slack group that we're all connected through. So now if there's something weird or broken or whatever and we don't know the answer, we can just Slack the group and everyone can help each other out. And it's really amazing to be part of that community of like top experts. And then also you do get to help a lot of people because the general public typically doesn't have access to a marketing professional that can help them and that understands how local search even works or GBP rules or guidelines work. And so you have all of these people that will change a category on their profile and suddenly they're suspended and they don't understand why and they don't know how to get reinstated. So it's nice to be able to help a lot of these businesses that are, if they're not showing up in Google, they're going to go out of business. So it is pretty cool to be able to help a lot of people. So what do we want to talk about first?
We're going straight to questions?
Would you like to go straight to questions, or would you like us to discuss some things?
Or to riff
first?
about random?
We kind of didn't really plan too much because.
Can you tell?
but as we talked about this beforehand, we all know each other. We could sit here and just have a discussion, and we can talk about current issues, things going on, and you can learn from that. But we didn't want to plan out too much because I know a lot of times people have very specific questions about something that's going on with their own site or with the client site. And most of the time when it's a panel situation like this, I feel like it's more valuable if we can just answer questions and help you. So if you guys want to do that, that's great. But if you don't really have questions, we can talk.
Unless you do a topic shout out, if anyone's got any.
I got a topic shout out. Outside of Google, what's your take on Apple Maps?
We've got to pause for microphone.
Outside of Google, what's kind of your take on your take on Apple Maps, Yelp, other maps platforms, local platforms?
I'll just do that thing where I'm like, I think
buzzers.
Claire. I think it depends on who you're working with and your audience. Personally, I found it tricky you can't use UTM tagging with Apple Maps. Are you managing to see your traffic? No. So for me, that's, more tricky. But there is traffic from these others. But, who knows? It's like all your eggs in one basket with Google. Don't forget that, other platforms are available where you can track. But I'm just optimizing those profiles, making sure that they are up to date, but generally not expecting to get a tremendous amount of traffic or actions on those.
I had a stat yesterday about Apple Maps, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah.
We looked at 1,100 locations in the EU across 5-6 countries. We reckoned Apple Maps impressions was about 10% of Google Maps impressions. If you looked at pure Maps impressions, but if you take the map pack on the SERP into account, Apple's share fell to 1%, which it was increasing, and the research is 10 months old now, so that might be 1.5%, but that's sort of what you're thinking about when you're looking at the second biggest platform, which is Apple.
But then in the United States, you got a pretty big market share for Bing.
Depends on where you are in the States. It's much more prevalent on the West Coast than it is anywhere else.
Right. But still, there is Bing places important.
And they're even, you guys don't care if we drop some F-bombs, right?
No, we don't want that. It's not required.
More fucked up than Google is. So literally we had a lawyer client that they moved offices because they needed to upsize because they're busy and they're winning. It's like, hey, we're an awesome marketing company, right? And so they didn't even tell us they were moving until a week before the move happened. So we had no time to update citations or even update their GBP or anything else. So, we're scrambling to get all this done so that they're not going to lose visibility because they moved 2 miles down the road on the same road that they were on. So the street address or the street was the same, but the number address changed. But also, it just happened to cross city lines. So they went from Dallas to Farmers Branch, even though it's 2 miles apart, which is going to be a train wreck. We all knew this. So we got everything else handled. We went to Bing and we're like, all right, we're trying to update this. And Bing's like, you need to re-verify. And they never got the card. And we kept going there. You're not sending this stuff. So we keep emailing support. It took 3 weeks for support to even answer us. Then when they answered us, they said, oh yeah, you can't change an address on a profile because that doesn't match customer intent. So you need to mark the other one closed and start fresh. And I'm like, they've been in this office for 20 years and they have a crap ton of reviews. We need to take the reviews. They're like, you can't take the reviews with you. And I'm like, you guys are dumb. But also, does anyone in here serve clients in the US? Nobody? Couple people. So Apple Maps is a lot more prevalent in the US than it is in Europe or the UK. So a significant number of people use Apple Maps for navigation over Google Maps. So you do need to play with Apple Maps Connect and get your information in there. There's just not a whole lot you can do with it. You asked about Yelp as well. So we always pay attention to Yelp because the stars for the reviews on the businesses that show in Apple Maps in the US always come from Yelp. So you see a lot of disconnect there, and most of our clients, about 65% of our clients are car dealers. And you have this big disconnect if you're going to go get an oil change or get your car serviced and you're looking up the dealerships and you find somebody that's got 2,500 reviews and a 4.8 rating in Google. You look them up on Apple Maps to get directions to the dealership and they've got a 1.5 rating with 18 reviews because those reviews come from Yelp. And then we've done studies and customers will actually decide not to go to that business because the reviews on Apple Maps look so bad. So you do have to pay attention to Yelp in the US. Outside of the US, though, it will default to Yelp, but nobody uses Yelp outside of the US. So you need to pay attention to which site feeds Apple Maps. So it's different for different verticals. So what you'd want to do is do a search. And like I know this because I did the local SEO training class on Wednesday, and this was in my class. So basically what you want to do is, I did it, the example that I showed in my slides was go do a search for restaurants in Brighton. And it will pull up a list of all the restaurants. You want to go into the local finder, so click more locations underneath the map pack. You see the local finder and look at the reviews, and it will say this many reviews and this score from TripAdvisor or from OpenTable or from Foursquare or from whatever these sites are, and just look and see. And it will be a majority of the businesses will all come from the same source. And for restaurants in the UK, TripAdvisor is the source for the review stars in Apple Maps.
And in Europe, some of these review platforms will also be imported into your Google business profile, right? So they'll have a prominent place anyway.
So long-winded answer of, yeah, you do need to pay attention to all of the other ones, but still, like he said, Google is where you really need to.
Two more really brief things on that. One is Crystal Tang saw that Apple Maps are now, there's a web version, so you don't always have to use the app, so you need to see if your content is being indexed. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I was quite surprised when I went away, because I use Google Maps for everything, with my friends, navigating. And do you use Google Maps? Do you use Apple Maps? People use it. So the first point is it needs to be the correct. I forget about it because I don't use Apple Maps at all. But then you watch other people, who is your audience? They're using it. They're looking for a business. The directions need to be right, the opening at a minimum. So I think we do forget it sometimes. Like people need that. So yeah, just two things.
Yelp is also powering Perplexity in the US.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Just to build on something you mentioned, with the change of address, how long in advance would you plan for it or ask Google to update it?
So what we typically do is we want to find out at least 2 to 3 months in advance what that timeline will be, because it's a little bit of a tightrope act, because if you just go update your GBP address and nothing else, and you haven't updated your website and you haven't updated any other citations, typically you're going to get suspended right now. Google's very suspension happy right now. That's going to cause a suspension. And hopefully it's a soft suspension. So if, for those of you that don't know, there's a soft suspension and a hard suspension. Soft suspension is you lose access to edit anything on your profile, but it still exists and still shows up. A hard suspension, you disappear and you don't show in search results. So it could be one of those. So you have to kind of start changing all the citations. And some of those citation sites, they're not going to update immediately. It's going to take 30 to 60 days on some of those sites. So that's why we want to know way ahead of time, because a lot of those sites, we're not really that worried about it. Most of the time when we have clients that haven't moved, we don't even do anything with citations because Google's just evolved. But when they move, you have to change it. So citations first, then we want to do the GBP about 2 weeks before they actually move to that address. Because in today's world, you have a more than 50% chance that when you change the address, you're going to get suspended. Then you're going to have to re-verify, and that process could take up to a week of back and forth. And you don't want to have it where they have moved and now they're suspended, and now the direction requests and everything else are wrong.
I do have a feeling that Google is a little bit less suspension happy in Europe than they are in the US.
Yeah.
With all of the with all of the fake moving that people are pulling on their competitors.
The pin
Yeah.
moving.
That's the most nefarious thing I've seen in a very long time. Have you guys heard about the map pin move, the black hat shit? So for those of you that haven't heard, I've seen it a couple of times, but I've seen it in India. I haven't seen it in the UK. But basically, people have figured out you can use the suggest and edit, and then you don't do anything other than suggest that the map pin is in the wrong place. And attorneys are really bad about this. So the example that we loved the best was there was a city that had about 20 personal injury attorneys. 19 of those map pins got moved to a city 2 hours away, and one was left. So even though the address still
I wonder who did it.
So even though the address still says that they're in the original city, visibility is actually based, and directions are based off of your map pin location. But it's not one of those things where you log into your profile and Google says, hey, users have suggested this, do you want to do it or not? It just happens. So then you log in and realize, you're like, why am I not showing up? You log in and realize, oh, my map pin is 2 hours away. So naturally, what do? You grab the map pin and move it back. Well, now Google says, oh, you're moving the map pin more than a certain distance. You can't move your map pin 2 hours away and not change the address also, so you're suspended. So then you're suspended, and then it takes time to get it back, and it's this whole, and then they've now kind of fixed it so you can't do it. But it was a massively powerful black hat hack that a lot of people figured out and started doing, so it's a little bit shady.
Yeah, competition in the US is a little bit more cutthroat than I think in most European countries. I think we're goodies in the Netherlands.
You are goodies.
Yeah.
You're so good. Just on the subject of suspension, soft suspension, blah, 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 what I would recommend, if you haven't done it already for any business, is just making sure that you have a folder somewhere that's easily accessible, that has all the proof that Google will need to show, so go through all of their documentations, make sure that you're actually eligible for a business listing to start off with, then make sure that you've got every single different country has got pretty much different documentation that they will accept. So make sure you've got all the photos that you need, the video if it's bricks and mortar, and have that ready to go, because you could be dealing with a suspension once, maybe once a year. So if you've got that all ready to go, then as soon as it happens, you can go through the process. So that's the biggest thing. And with the new re-verification process that has been now rolled out worldwide, you get the alert, hey, you've been suspended, click here to request reinstatement. Once you click that button and start that process, we call it the 60-minute timer of doom, because you get 60 minutes to get all your documentation together and sent to Google. And if you don't do it in that 60-minute timer, you're done. You can't get it back. You get one chance. You actually do get a second chance if you can go to the forum and talk to the right people, but the general public doesn't know that. So you definitely want to have that stuff set up and ready to go.
Scared the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, okay. I've got a client who's a scrapyard, basically recycle metal. I was having issues with the pin location as well. I thought someone was moving it around. Kept requesting to move it back. It's pretty much in the right spot, but from the Google Street View, showing the back of the building, and around that area there's a lot of competitors. So I'm worrying that people are turning up with a truckload of metal, looking at the back of the building, seeing the competitor next door and going into there. Is there anything you recommend to...
Is the competitor also a scrapyard?
Yeah. Okay,
so the map pin location, is the map pin in the right spot that it would bring them to the front, or is the map pin also towards the back of the building?
That's the issue, because they're so close together. I'm requesting the movements, and it's not really moving.
So when you're requesting the movement, zoom as far in as the map allows you to move.
Yeah.
And then you can move it and get it a little bit more exact.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it and they're not accepting the move,
Yeah.
first step is connect with support and say, hey, look, the map pin is not placed correctly. We have been requesting this move and it keeps getting declined. Can you guys take care of it? Support's going to come back and either say, oh yeah, cool, it's fixed, or they're going to say everything's working as intended, or whatever bullshit they feed you.
Yeah.
If they fix it, great, you're done. If they say anything else, go to the forum. And go to the forum, and when you go to the forum, anytime you post on the forum, include ridiculous detail. Explain your problem like you're talking to a 5-year-old that doesn't know how to turn on a computer. Because most people come to the forum and go, I'm trying to get re-verified and it doesn't work, and that's all they say. And those of us on the forum are going to come back and say, we need more information. What's the name of your business? What's your website address? What's your GBP? If you haven't spoken to support, we're going to go and say, you got to go talk to support first. But once you've spoken to support or emailed support, they're going to give you a case ID number. Make sure you put that case ID number in your post on the forum, because then anyone that is gold, platinum, or diamond level on the forum as a product expert, we have the ability to escalate a forum thread directly to the GVP team and kind of skip support. So when we do that, if you've got that case ID number in there, then the GVP team knows that you've spoken to support. They can also pull that ticket up in their system and see what support said to you, and it really makes things happen a lot faster.
Thank you.
Yeah, via API, you can also update latitude, longitude. So if you have the right coordinations via API, you can put it exactly where you want.
Is there a good tool for that?
There is a good tool for that.
and also something that a lot of people don't realize, direction requests, when you get the turn-by-turn directions, it's not based on your address. It's based on the placement of the map pin. So that's why I was asking, because if this is your building and the map pin is placed at the back, when people get directions, the directions are going to lead them to the map pin. That's why you want to make sure that it's in the front, or where the front entrance is through the gate or whatever, because that's how the directions are going to be set up.
And one last thing on that, make sure you've got excellent signage, like really amazing signage, because then next time Street View comes round, it's like, bang, there it is. And Google support can see very clearly, using Google's own internal resource, that that's where the business is. So go really hard on signage.
Sorry, I'm not taking the microphone there. So with the...
You only get one question. So.
Next.
The Google Street View, can you request a Google? Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
You have no influence over that whatsoever. If you guys want a super secret inside tip, shh. Not really supposed to say this, so don't tell on me. Okay, when you do verifications or re-verifications is a little bit less important, but if you have a new location and you're doing verifications, now it's almost always going to be a video, whether it's a live call or a recorded video that you upload. And you have to show all of the elements that prove that you're within guidelines. One of those being that you have permanent signage on your building and that you have access to areas of the business that the general public can't access. Because you couldn't go to a restaurant and try to claim the restaurant and go, oh, here's a sign, and walk inside and go, this is my restaurant. You'd have to be able to go back into the office and unlock the office, or open up a computer and get into the ordering system or whatever. Something that they do not tell you, and this is not public, please don't tweet this or anything, but I always let people know this on the forum because we can do it on a one-on-one basis. If your video has anyone's face in it, you will automatically fail the verification. They don't want anyone's personal information in there. So a lot of businesses also, if typically you're going to want to show the street sign or businesses nearby so that you're proving your actual location, and then show your permanent signage. Also, when you're showing your permanent signage, you've got your phone or your whatever. A lot of people will go, oh, there's my sign, and then go. And then it's like you can't even really see it. So you want to go on your sign and leave it on your sign for a minute. But as you're doing that, then you want to go inside. And if there's people inside or people on the street, automatic fail. You've got to make sure there's no people in your verification videos.
It's an excellent tip. I didn't know that. Man. I have a funny story on the on Street View. I was at Google when Street View was launched in Germany, and Germany, and the Germans are a little bit peculiar about their privacy. Even
not in saunas.
Not in saunas, maybe no, but online. Yeah. And when Street View was launched, Google was forced to place an article in the major newspapers offering the German public the opportunity to actually get their house removed because that was your house and it was private, and if you didn't want your house on it. And Google didn't think much of it. Google thought, okay, who cares about the front of the house? Nobody cares. And then letters started coming in, handwritten letters started coming in, about 10, 15 garbage bag full of letters came in. Yeah, and they had to remove, I think they had to hire 15 or 20 people to just open the letters and figure out what house this person was, because they were forced to get them off. So it's literally, it took ages for Google to fix Street View, and as a result of that, Google did not update Street View in Germany for the next, I think, 10 or 15 years or 12 years. But I saw some of the garbage bags in the Hamburg office. It is crazy.
Hello. So I have a few clients who are kind of local businesses, and sometimes when I have calls with them, they ask about X near me. So in terms of educating a client who might not know a lot about SEO, about how it's more about kind of location pages and building that profile rather than kind of near me, how would you say it's best to educate a client who's not really familiar, but you want to reassure them that you're doing the right thing, if that makes sense? Does that make sense?
Ask them to ask the people in their network to search for relative terms and create a screenshot of the homepage or the SERP, and do that for a few businesses. So adding fresh photos, adding products, adding services, that will make a location look good, and it's very visible, even if you don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. That's usually how I solve that.
Is it a fixation that they think everyone adds the geo modifier near me?
Yeah, this is it. So they're kind of asking, why aren't we doing it about near me? And I'm kind of having to explain that it's kind of more in depth than that. But obviously I have a half-hour call, so I don't want to kind of,
I would encourage them to, rather than adding the modifier, just think about, well, who is your target market? Why don't you ask them to search for a thing that you offer? And then they'll actually understand that people don't, or they do or they don't, add the modifier, and Google knows where they are because it's they see it as a locational intent. Get them to do the work and answer their own question if you can, just that they'll understand that people don't necessarily add the modifier. And if they do, look at what Google gives them as a result. It's not a page that all have near me in the title tag. They actually just give a locational result. Would you agree?
Or the H1. Are you looking for a dentist near me on the H1 of the page?
Near me.
Even correct English.
Yeah.
You would say, are you looking for a dentist near you? But people think if you have near me as the keyword on the page, that Google's going to match that keyword. But the way that we explain it to our clients, because let's face it, is anybody in here a car dealership employee? Because I don't want to be a dick if you are.
Oh, look, yes, we do. But not you, though.
You're not like an owner, though, right? Okay, the owners of car dealerships do not understand what computers are or how they work. They are Luddites, and they don't get it. They still think if there's a keyword on the page, that page ranks number one no matter what. They don't understand that there's competition. They want to see near me all over the stuff. In fact, in the United States, Toyota has a digital report that goes out every month to their dealerships, and you get scored on how you perform in search based on this report that wasn't even put together by an SEO professional. It's put together by a social media company that doesn't know SEO. And there are 3 elements on this report that you have to rank for a near me search. But this report is run by a company that's in St. Louis, which is right in the middle of the United States, and they're not even using a rank tracking platform. They're just going to Google and typing Toyota near me and then setting the location to Dallas or LA or whatever. They don't even understand how it works. The way that we explain it to our clients is if a customer does happen to include near me as a modifier, that's like an explicit search to Google that says, I want things that are physically close to my real world location right now. Even if you have near me on the page, if you're not one of the 3 closest businesses to that person's location, you're not going to show up in that search. You might show up organically way lower on the page, but people care about this for the map pack. They don't care about organic, right? Explain to them, this customer is explicitly saying, I want things that are physically close to me in reality. You can't optimize for that. Just putting that on the page isn't going to help, and you actually look like an idiot because then grammatically it just reads weird. So once you kind of explain that and say, look, you're going to show up for those searches if you're near that person, otherwise you're not, you don't really have to worry about putting the text on the page. I love that it's back and forth
front.
and you're just like hustling.
At the front. Quick.
So I'm kind of like relatively, I would say relatively, it's been about a year. We got like a hospitality client with about 70 like different like pubs and like restaurants and bars, and I was sort of like looked their like GBP initially for all of them was a mess. I mean, like a proper mess. So opening hours wrong, NAP consistencies, some were linking to the wrong website, sort of thing. Like, so I mean, naturally, I mean they fixed them all and things improved, which I looked great with for. It was amazing. But I think more generally, like, what are sort of like some of the more like final like, optimizations that you think that once like obviously like NAT consistency is good and they look generally like okay from just an overview or an audit, what are some like the final optimizations you guys would recommend?
For the site or for GBP?
GBP.
I mean, we would go about in a certain order, right? So we would always start with the categories because that's the easiest win. So add categories that are relevant. For a pub, you want to see some good photos. So ask your local pub for some cool photos. Google doesn't give you information anymore on how many impressions you got on the photos, but when they did, which was a year and a half ago, it was fantastic. We would literally see chains of businesses that got 1/3 of their page views in terms of photo impressions on GBP, and there were 5 people optimizing the website, and there was nobody looking at the photos. So photos, place an occasional post, that helps. Bulk upload services, add your attributes, get the profiles to be complete, and then I think the biggest ranking factor that you could probably work on would be the reviews. So educate the pub owners on reviews and make sure there's an NFC thing or something to collect those reviews. And it's usually the best way is to educate the people in the location.
And I would say, even before you do that, maybe because you've got multi-location, thinking about even outside of Google Business Profile, making you sure that you've got some sort of, are you managing via the API? Who's going to be responsible? Do you have an internal team? Is there a customer service? So thinking about architecture in terms of who's going to run all the different processes, because it's not like you're just dealing with one Google Business Profile that you can do via the SERP. You're going to be managing multiple locations. If it's a chain, then you could be working with bulk. You could bulk verify, bulk do stuff. So think about your processes in terms of, there's a lot of locations. So before you actually get cracking, work out how you're going to use your resource and put together your processes.
Have you heard of the local search ranking factor study?
Don't think so.
Okay, so years ago, David Mim created this study. And then when he got bought by Moz, then it was technically run by Moz for a few years. And then when he left, he basically let Darren Shaw from Whitespark take over this study. And the thought process behind it would be, let's say someone in here said, hey, audit my GBP real quick, or audit my website. And the 3 of us all looked at it. Let's say we're looking at the GBP or the homepage. And what would we do with the title tag, the H1, the content? The 3 of us would all do different things because we all have a slightly different take on what we would want to do, but we would all touch the same elements because we know what the algorithm looks at. That's kind of the thought process behind this study. So it's typically about 40 people that are the top local SEO experts on the planet. They send out this big in-depth survey. You're on that, right?
Yes.
What did it take you last year?
I just repeated the year before. No, I thought about it really carefully based on my experiences, and
it's like an hour.
It takes a while.
Yeah, it's a pretty in-depth survey, but then they aggregate all the answers, and then you get this pretty good idea of the factors that influence visibility, and they'll actually rank them and say, like the most recent one was actually at the end of 2023, and the number 1 most influential factor is whatever your primary category is. But if you go look up just look up local search ranking factor study. And it's typically every year, but he skipped this year. We're actually about to do the next one. So he's going to send the surveys out at the end of this month. We're all going to fill them out. Then it's going to be released at the beginning of next year. So the next one will be the 2025 local search ranking factor study. And it gives you from 1 through 100, here's all the factors that could potentially influence visibility. And it ranks them in order of perceived weight in the algorithm according to these top experts. I would check that out, because then that helps you kind of prioritize. And maybe it's not exactly right. There's some things in there that I disagree with how high they are on the list. There's probably some things in there that you would both disagree, and we would disagree on different things. But in general, the stuff that's in the top 10 as being the most important, we're probably all going to agree that at least 80% of those should be there. So that will help you prioritize and go, oh, okay, I should probably do these things before I do these other things that won't be as influential. All the way in the back again.
Someone at the back? Yeah.
Should have put your running shoes on today.
I did it on purpose. Hey guys. Have any of you ever had to deal with a client who has what I've coined as review phobia? So, I'm currently working with a client. They have 0 reviews. They do not actively or proactively want to be going out getting reviews because they are terrified of the negative review. For context, I spoke to Darren Shaw, and he was like, give me a negative review. They're awesome. They're a great opportunity. But I wonder, have you guys experienced that? How have you dealt with that? What would you advise?
This is a client?
Yes.
Or a friend?
Friend. Client.
But
commission-based friend.
Right, but is this someone asking you for advice, or you're actually helping them with some of their...
I'm helping them with their business.
Okay. So you know this person, you're familiar with their business. Do they care about good customer service, or are they kind of shady and they don't really give a shit if people are happy or not?
They're a rubbish friend, but a good business.
Uh-huh.
Right, but as they treat their customers, they do care about customer service, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So I work with a lot of car dealers and a lot of attorneys. So most of the businesses I work with don't give a fuck if they give good customer service, honestly. Those people kind of have a reason to be scared of reviews, because the more you ask, the more bad reviews you're going to get, right? I don't think that's the case at all. Human nature is, if you're pissed off, you're most likely going to write a bad review. If you're happy, you're not. You don't think, oh, I had a great experience, I'm going to go write a good review. But if you had a great experience, and at the point that you either are in that great experience or just after, the business says, hey, we'd love to hear what you have to say about your experience, can you share it on one of these sites? Then you almost feel obligated to leave that review. So just let them know, hey, as long as you're not shady and you're not giving shitty customer service, asking means you're going to get those positive reviews, because the happy people are not going to leave a review otherwise.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The difference between a business with decent reviews or with a decent rating and a bad rating is that the decent rating one asks customers for reviews and the bad rating one doesn't. That's literally the difference. So you have to ask people for reviews.
They're great answers. Thank you very much.
Good to see you, dude. Oh, come on, do the one in front first.
No, you can't not include middle people.
I just wanted to know, do you have any tool recommendations for local search? Ideally free ones, but yeah, just went to...
I don't know.
We're going to arm wrestle here. Yeah.
Cool.
Tell us about what
literally
you do,
2/3 of the people on
intro.
stage work for tool companies for local SEO, so that's a great question to ask.
Yeah. I think we have different customers we focus on. We design our software specifically for multi-location businesses, so a lot of the reports, a lot of the way we structure the data is aimed at customers with multiple locations. And it's a niche because we focus purely on Google and then multi-location business, but that's what we sort of aim to be the very best at. And then
in terms, you've got Search Console. Don't forget that you can use that if you're UTM tagging up your URLs. You're going to be able to section that out. Don't forget the normal, it's not like, do you need a local SEO tool? Yes, but don't forget that you should be using Google Search Console, Google Analytics, and then you'll probably want some sort of GeoGrid, rank tracker, Bright Local, other grids are available, not as good. And then you need, and so are you going to be using the API? If you're using the API, you need access to the API, and a good way to do that is via a tool. So I think rather than just talk about tools, think about what you need and then which tool is going to meet your needs the best.
That's an excellent answer, because I was going to jump in and be like, well, I'm not a tool guy, but figure out which tool meets your needs, but she just said that. For us, from an agency side, Bright Locals, this is going to sound like I'm pandering, but Bright Local is an absolute necessity. We could not do local SEO without Bright Local. We could not do local SEO without a tool called Places Scout, which nobody outside of the States really knows about. It does some of the same things as Bright Local, and those things, we actually use Bright Local for those things. Because Bright Local, you subscribe to Bright Local, you get all the tools. Places Scout lets you subscribe just to elements of the tool that you want. So like the GeoGrid searches, some of the other GBP reports that you pull, we use Bright Local for those. But for the reputation management stuff of Places Scout, it's super configurable. So we can configure it to monitor all the review platforms, and they monitor review platforms that other review platforms don't monitor. Like we have a lot of car dealer clients, a lot of lawyer clients, so there are specific sites that have reviews for lawyers that other review platforms don't monitor, so that's why we like Places Scout. And we don't even have to log into the tool, because once you configure it, it'll send you a daily email and say, here's what you got. You also typically need a tool to work with GBP Q&A, because any of the tools that work with that, you're basically using the API to handle everything, so you don't have to manually log in to each individual GBP to handle, review responses, questions and answers, and things like that. So I think for us, more than anything, Bright Local, Places Scout, you just have to have. And then beyond that, like she said, if you have a specific need for something, there's a tool out there that does it. You just have to almost shop by what your need is, instead of saying, well, I need a tool that does it all. Whichever one's furthest away so that you're running a lot.
I work for a company that has one location, but they offer services throughout the UK, so in different cities throughout the UK. So in this instance, how do we try and get the landing pages for each city and town so it's not copied, duplicated pages from one to the other, and we're not just waffling in terms of what that page says. We're a bit stuck in trying to get that page ranking for the service locally.
What type of business is it?
The example I'm thinking of is waste disposal. So we do collection of business waste.
Okay.
And so we offer it up and down the country. So we've got location pages for each of the cities, offering that service.
So the 1 GBP that you have, where's that located?
That'll be in the head office.
Right, but what city is it located in?
Oh, Liverpool.
Okay. So if someone is in Brighton and they want your services, you can service that client?
We can, yeah.
Okay. Do they come all the way from Liverpool to service that client, or are there local sources that...
There are local sources in that area, yeah.
And are you like a almost lead gen service that you're kind of farming that out to other kind of companies that will handle that business for you?
Exactly that. So we don't have a team of waste disposal people up and down the country. We sublet it, if you like. Subcontractors, I should say.
So yeah, in that case, the reason I asked, if it was your team in a bunch of different cities, you would be allowed to set up so for those of you that are newer or don't know, you have brick and mortar businesses and you have what's called service area businesses, like a plumber or an electrician, where the address is not displayed publicly. If you actually did have teams in each city, you could set up a service area business GBP in each town. But because it's not your staff, you're not allowed to do that. So you're going to have to do it just by content, and understand you're not going to show up in the map pack for those searches in those towns. So someone in Brighton searching for your services, you won't be in the map pack, but you can be in organic.
Yeah.
You just got to create that content.
So what would be your top tips in that and those pages? So we do a page that would have business waste disposal collection in Brighton,
I'm going to jump in. Bright Local Academy, so free courses. So we've got 2 courses that will be really relevant to you. One is the location page landing course, in case you're having bricks and mortar, but also we have a course that I did write, and it is all about content for local SEO. So thinking about these service landing pages, how to put together the architecture, how to generate unique content, how to make sure it's relevant. So that is a strong recommend to go and watch that course rather than listing all the different types of content.
Yeah, I think the thing we're having trouble with is you talk about the location, come to Manchester, home of Oasis, or you go to Brighton, whatever. But then people who are just reading that service just want to know about the service, but then the service is repetitive, throughout the whole country.
Yeah, but don't make it
but
repetitive.
It's not repetitive for that client.
Yeah, you can work out, there are ways of making it unique.
Yeah, I think I was just more concerned about duplicate content.
But duplicate content doesn't count for location pages. So I think you can get away with duplicate content on location pages.
Okay.
When you're worried about duplicate content, are you worried you're going to get penalized?
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a duplicate content penalty. That is a myth that basically the general public has misinterpreted how content works. Google doesn't penalize you for duplicate content. Google rewards you for unique content. But if you're going to do a bunch of location pages, first, watch her course. It's awesome. It will tell you exactly what to do. But second, there have been multiple people, Sterling Sky, Joy Hawkins, Darren Shaw at Whitespark, have done studies and said, let's just try this for a client, and we'll spin up exactly the same page 25 times and just change the city name out. Totally works.
Not saying do it, but go and have a look at the quality of what is in the SERP and then make it better than that, and then get links to it.
So would you put canonical tags on the location pages, driving it back to a main pillar of content? Would you put... Sorry, my nose is blocked. I've got...
No, you're fine.
Would you put canonical tags on the location pages? Would you tag them?
I wouldn't even care.
Okay.
No, just make, unique landing pages for those services with your... And you don't have to do... you could start off with 10 for your most... useful, with the highest search, or your best conversion, or whatever it is. Why don't you just do a series of pages, see how they perform, and then you can roll it out. And it's not just a question of doing find and replace with a city name, but work out if there is something unique. If you've got a client that has had skip hire in, Liverpool or whatever, can you get a customer testimonial? Can you get a case study? That's Phil Rosiek.
Yeah.
Phil Rosiek from Local Visibility Systems. He writes a really great blog or whatever content about unique ways to get really good content for boring industries. I don't think anything is boring. If people want to buy it, then it's interesting to them. So there's so much content out there to give you ideas.
All right, so we don't need to put down any specific stuff about the city work, just to make it more interesting.
What's going to resonate with what resonates with your audience? What do they need to read?
Get straight into the content, get straight into the service. And
don't get hung up on the duplicate thing, because there really is you're not going to get penalized for duplicate content.
Right, okay.
Now, what duplicate content would matter was if the 3 of us were competitors in a town doing waste removal or whatever, and all 3 of us, that service page was exactly the same between the 3 of us. None of us are going to be penalized, but Google kind of effectively sees that as, okay, that's all exactly the same thing. Whoever our competitor is that has something unique is going to outrank us because theirs is unique and ours are all exact matches. So it's not that we're being penalized, it's that Google sees us as equal and Google's going to reward the unique content, but you won't get penalized for it.
Right, perfect, thank you.
Hi. I have a few businesses asking me about SEO, and they are very small, family-run businesses who aren't willing to invest in like a website, learning a CMS, maintaining it. Realistically, can they see much success with just an optimized business profile and like a Facebook page, for example?
What kind of businesses are they?
Very small, like for example, children's clothes store, or again, very local, kind of word-of-mouth based stores that don't have budget for advertising. They just kind of want as much optimization as they can on, for example, Google Business. But I don't know how much I can actually do for them, and I don't want to take their money, basically, if I can't do much.
Take their money. It's so easy. You know, look at all the CMSs that we have now. Think about Squarespace, Wix. I'm not saying go and build those, but how much does it cost to have like a semi-robust 1 page or 2 pages? The thing is, when they're putting when you're linking from your Google Business profile, it needs to be to your domain. A lot of the time that, you can't link out. You will see it, people linking out to Facebook pages, but then if you lose that listing and you need to re-verify, it's going to cause problems. And then when you invest in these third-party sites and there's, Facebook, they don't own that. So if they just get their domain, I really, really would, even if it's only a 1-pager, get a website up, because they own that. It's theirs. It's their equity. Any links. That's what I would, if you can convince them, and then maybe you could do something simple for them, because it's really solid investment. If they've got money for stock and money for rates and money to staff the shop, then I think a website would be important.
You almost ask them to do that themselves, right? It's a lot of these platforms.
Yeah. But I think, aren't you saying they don't want to do it themselves, basically, or don't have capacity to do it themselves?
They're not necessarily tech literate.
You do it.
But they're asking you about SEO. Why don't you go, oh, well, yeah, you actually do need a website. It doesn't have to be this crazy massive site. I can set that up for you. Look, we can get you a WordPress site or a Squarespace site or a Wix site for $10 a month or whatever. And you say, look, I'm just going to do pass-through. It's whatever it costs for this website. I'm not marking it up for you. There you go. And then you need a couple of pages of content. And you can do that for them and say, oh, I'm going to charge you 100 quid to throw up the site. Like, you could charge them more, but if you really want more of the SEO recurring revenue, just give away the website. Do it for free even, because it takes you 20 minutes to spin it up, and then it's helpful. The reason I asked, though, is restaurants and pubs can actually rank in the map pack without a website. So it is possible, but you wouldn't want to, because unless they're in a really small town and there's just no competition for what they do, if they're the only children's clothing store in town, you might be able to get away without having a website. But if there's any competition at all, they're never going to beat that competition without a website.
Thank you.
Next.
Yeah.
Up front. No. Of course.
Hello. I work with an osteopath, or have recently started working with him, and he's got 2 premises. They're within 10 miles of each other, but one's London, one's Essex. One's definitely the primary location, and the other one he's only at 2 days a week. I've been trying to convince him that using the true opening hours on his Google Business profile is the best thing to do. But he's seeing a drop in calls and conversions. Because he has a lot of competition around the Essex branch where he's only at 2 days a week. Do you have any solutions?
Okay, let's say it's Mondays and Wednesdays are the 2 days a week. Maybe it's not, but for the sake of conversation. If someone wanted to meet with him or whatever on a Friday, close enough, could he go drive over, or he's only there those 2 days and that's it?
He works either at one location or the other 5 days a week. So. Probably can't.
I'm interested to hear what you guys would say.
Ali.
I would wing it. Yeah, I'd wing it and try, if it's a lead generator, to get the leads in. Set up the same phone number and make the appointment mandatory. There's an attribute where you can say appointment mandatory, so people don't. If they show up, you're like, hey, it's very clear you have to make an appointment.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that would be my solution, I think.
Or get a VA, maybe, that works in Essex.
Sorry?
Or get a VA.
Or get a VA, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You risk that you get a bad review because people end up on a closed door, and because they didn't read the you may have to make an
I
appointment?
think one of the things, because of the type of service that it is, the way that we wouldn't normally just pop in and expect someone to be there. It's one of those services where you would send an inquiry and make an appointment. So it's possible that you wouldn't, I turned up and no one was there to answer my questions. I think just because of the service, whereas if it was something else where you expected, I came to the door and nobody was there, that's the type of thing. So I think you play that. It's only bad and when it's bad. So I would definitely, especially with the way that things have changed with map visibility, in that you have increased visibility during your opening hours, then that is an issue, isn't it?
So I would answer this with two different answers. This business was in the United States. Definitely only say that you're open the days that you're open. Because technically, the guidelines for GBP say that your opening hours have to be the hours that you have staff at the location. So if it's only Mondays and Wednesdays, you're actually against guidelines to say that you're open Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Because people are much more aggressive in the US, a competitor's going to notice that you say you're open on Friday when they know that you're not. They'll even go by. I've had clients hire private investigators to go by and take photo and video to prove that no one is at the location, to then get that location suspended or removed. Outside of the US, what the fuck you want to do? Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to catch you. The problem is exactly what he said. You do potentially risk, even though people know they should make an appointment, you do have the risk of increased bad reviews because people will show up and oh, it's closed, it's not there. So you have to understand that there's that implication, but the hours thing, if they're marked as closed and someone's doing a search during business hours and the competitors in town are open during that time, those competitors are going to outrank. So if you say you're open, the other thing that you could do is go hire some kid at minimum wage to sit there in the office and play on their phone and watch YouTube all day. That way there is an employee there and you're following guidelines.
My doorbell broke last week, and it was really difficult to buy a normal doorbell, one that just that you push and then rings. Apparently, everybody nowadays has a smart doorbell. So, put a smart doorbell there.
Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah.
Only one question per person, please.
It's more of a follow-up. So if I fuck it up, can I get in touch with you as gold members to help me fix it?
No, Greg will do it because it's his responsibility.
Yeah, my email is greg@searchlabdigital.com. I have what I call an open email policy. I will help anyone with any local SEO question you have. I will always answer emails and help. So if you have a problem, email me. I'll help you.
I know exactly where to find you. Thank you.
Hi guys. You mentioned at the beginning of the conversation that you get early insight from Google, being a gold member. What would be the things you'd be telling clients or your team to focus on in the next kind of 6 to 12 months?
I'm actually not allowed to say that because I'm under NDA.
You did already say something you weren't meant to say.
So that other thing, it's a weird deal. Like when we have our calls, they'll specifically say, this is under NDA, so everyone knows you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
That thing I talked about earlier is technically something we're not allowed to publicly broadcast, but on a one-on-one basis, we're allowed to tell people that.
Especially like a podcast or video format works really well.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
But literally, there's a lot of stuff that we literally are not allowed to say. You can get kicked out of the program if it's caught.
Is there anything that you can say?
But to more obtusely answer your question, in the next year, there's not really anything big coming that I would tell my team to start worrying about this. Most of the stuff that would be a drastic change is probably out at least. So it wouldn't even be something we'd be worried about right now, because also if they say, hey, we're working on this thing, and there's one specific thing for car dealerships that I'm working with them on. So certain businesses can set up department GBPs. So your main profile will then have a listing of there's this department, this department, this department. You actually have a separate GBP for that department. And car dealers in the US, well, car dealers anywhere are allowed to do it. And there's a lot of advantages to it. I don't want to waste time because we just have a couple of minutes left, but it's very difficult to do that. You can't manually do it. You have to connect with Google and have support do it for you. So that's one of the things I'm working with them as a way to do it in the interface where you would have access. So like those things are way down the road. but anything else coming, there's not really any major changes that are like, oh, we need to adjust how we're going to work with it.
So I've been told that actually Google has moved large part of engineering resource away from Google My Business again into the commerce teams, so Google on Google Merchant Center, which means that nothing big is happening, and they're not fixing any of the crap that is currently there. But if I'm telling my team to have a good look at generative AI, and we are seeing reviews and Google My Business powering Google's local large language model, and I'm really trying to focus product effort on those areas. So we do constant A/B testing. We try to see what factors influence rank, and the one A/B test that always works is reviews. More reviews, higher rating, replying to reviews. Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
Very good.
Yeah.
We're out of time, but we can do one last question if somebody wants one. Anybody want it?
Nope.
Actually, give that back to her. Go walk to the back and then ask her.
I work for temporary work offices in the Netherlands. They have offices throughout the Netherlands. So I'm saying, okay, gather good reviews from all your employees that are satisfied by you. It doesn't work. They don't do it. I tried everything, made business cases from offices that did make effort to get good reviews, and you see them grow in Google. I asked the CFO to tell it in the quarterly update. I made QR codes. I asked to make a Google email template in the customer journey so they can send it. Do you have some other tips without murdering somebody to?
You're great. Well done. You're doing a good job. Yeah. A new client, I think you need to sack them. Get someone that follows your advice.
I'm in a house, so it's my salary. So, yeah.
That's difficult. Yeah.
You're basically saying that, like, if I'm using that temporary workspace, you're asking for me to leave a review for the workspace?
No, and the temporary work office agency. Sorry, staffing company.
Oh, okay.
I already said, okay, guys, just walk outside, put on your mobile phone, and give yourself a review. And then you have 4 or 5 new reviews, and then do the same with people that you help to get work.
So technically, that employee is an employee of the temporary staffing company.
I know it's forbidden, but I said that's a start. Just do it. Give yourself and your colleagues give yourself a review. I know but then second step is ask all your employees that you are recruiting. Ask them for a review, but it's
technically that's against guidelines, and you can get suspended for that. Also, last important thing. So I've been doing Brighton SEO for like 10 years, and years ago it was always cool because Google will typically roll out an update in North America before it rolls out to the rest of the year. So I could always come to Brighton and say, hey, this just happened in the States, this is coming within the next 6 months, and everyone gets a jump on it. For the first time in my knowledge ever, Google has rolled something out in the UK before it's rolled out anywhere else. And right now it's active, but it will roll out to the rest of the world. I know when, I can't say, it's NDA, but let's just say it's coming everywhere else pretty soon. But right now, if Google detects review fraud, which is employees leaving reviews, family members leaving reviews, or an unnatural review pattern, they'll pop an alert on your GBP with a big triangle that's red with an exclamation point and says, this business has been, or we've removed reviews from this business because suspicious review activity has been detected. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you get an alert that pops up that says, we've turned reviews off for this business because of review fraud, and you're not able to leave any new reviews for that business for whatever period of time, depending on the severity of your infraction. So I would not ever at this point ask for employees or family or friends to leave reviews. Reviews have to be from a customer or potential customer that had an interaction with the business in a customer type, like you can call a business and they can be rude to you on the phone and you can not buy from them, but you're still allowed to leave a review. But as an employee or a friend or family, way against the rules, and you're now risking getting reviews turned off or getting a warning that now people won't trust you. So I would not go down that road.
The idea is that get your customers to give you reviews, but how do you get the employees get so far that they say that they go actively try to get reviews.
So you're a staffing service, temporary staffing service. I have a need. I call you. I need to get some employees to come over. You need me as the person employing on a temporary basis to leave the review, not the employees that come over to me to leave the review, to stay within guidelines. So you would need to figure out a way to not ask the temporary hires to leave the review, but the company that they are working for to leave the review.
The employees are also customers. They have two customers. They have the businesses that have to.
Right, but in Google's eyes, the employees would not be allowed to leave that review because they are temporary. Like, I'm your staffing agency, right? Yeah. And I go work for Bright Local on a temporary basis. And yeah, during that time, I am Bright Local's employee, but technically, I'm your employee because I work for you on a temporary basis and you send me out to various places. So in Google's mind, while I might be working at their office doing things for them, I'm still your employee. I would not be allowed to leave that with you.
I think there's a misunderstanding here. Yeah. So the staffing agency would recruit people and then deploy them elsewhere, right? So the moment to ask for a review is when you send out that email saying, hey, we've selected you as a candidate. You're allowed to go work at X and Y. Here's a link. Please leave us a review.
But
right?
It's a temporary basis, right? It's not like you've recruited me and I go work for Bright Local for forever. It's we're kind of out of time, but yeah, that's kind of shady because Google's going to look at that as like, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming so
Thank
early
you.
today. I'm sure
Before you go, can I do a selfie? Can you come in? Say hi. I love your arms up.
Turn it.
Turn it.
Yeah, that's better.
All right, there we are. Say hello. Hello. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.